Folks, today I would like to talk to you on another very, very important topic. That is, what is permanent in life? What will never change? And what will keep changing all the time? What is the direction of this change? And what causes the change? What is a good change and what is a bad one? It's very important to know the underlying structure, underlying platform, facts about all these things so that you'll be on the right side of this change. If you are on the right side, you will find happiness, joy, and if you are on the wrong side, you will also suffer along with the others. That's what I want to talk to you. So it's a very important topic. Please listen carefully. What will never change is the structure of those three lights that I've been talking about, the divine lights. The white light, which gives you the feeling of yourself, pure I-ness. Then this golden light, which is the principle of life, which gives you extreme, extreme joy, immeasurable joy, and also the love that normal human beings cannot even imagine. Then there is this red light which supports the body and also enables the removal of all the ignorances. I've been talking about all these three divine lights for quite some time. Of course, this will change. Before I talk about it, when will that change? The origin of these three lights, as I've been saying, is a God structure, God status or state called Shiva or Maheshwara by Hindus and simply God by Christian religion. I've talked about this in earlier videos. Another aspect of humanity, human life, which will never change is the structure of the seven chakras in the human body. The contents inside these seven chakras will keep changing. You're all aware of that because no two individuals are alike. That's because the quality or the content inside the seven chakras are different between two individuals. That will keep changing as time progresses or people evolve. Even all this, the three lights and the seven chakra, the structure of the seven chakras will change when the dream of this unknown, undescribable, eternally unknown thing called Paramashivam and Parashakti in Hindu tradition, the one in the eternal darkness, beyond description, which has no opposites like birth and death, suffering and happiness, and so on. When the whole God structure, like Maheshwara, three lights, Adi Shiva and Adi Shakti, etc., that I've been talking about, they are all the dream. They are all dream characters in the dream of that one entity called eternal unknown. When that one wakes up, the whole God structure, including the Maheshwara and also God's different forms called human beings, will be demolished, will go away, just like your dream goes away when you wake up. I talked about all these things. But there's a long, long, long time before that can happen. So, for all practical purposes, you can say that these three divine lights, their function, their structure, and also the seven chakras will not change. Now, before I talk about what will change, I want to picture you one very important thing in your mind. That is, imagine there are two individuals, two pure I-ness. Before they take the body of a man or a woman or a male or female, they are immersed in this great golden light. When they are immersed, the very fact that they are immersed in that golden light gives them life and also extreme joy. They don't have to do anything. The two individuals immersed in the golden light will experience extreme joy. Keep this extreme joy in your mind because all the structures, the social structure, social setup like family, country, states, etc., will tend to reach that stage of extreme joy one way or other. That is the goal of the humanity. That is when the so-called Satya Yuga will prevail, will exist. Till then, there will be struggling, suffering, and struggles. Now, let's imagine that this permanent structure that I've been talking about is something like a foundation of a building. And at the top of this foundation are all these individuals, human beings immersed in this golden light. They have taken their bodies, man or woman, etc. They have the mind, etc. Now, on this structure, all the social structures people have constructed exist, like family, country, race, etc. etc. Now, let's look at the smallest structure of this society or humanity, that is family. Let's look at various things happened within this family structure, family setup or social structure, the past 75 to 100 years or so. One of the things that I was told, I was not there at the time, so I would rely on what people have told in various books. That is, as soon as this happened in India, as soon as the husband dies in a family, the women have to immolate themselves. That means they have to go and kill themselves, or others will push them inside the fire and they have to die. I was told, I don't know whether it is true or not, you can verify it, that it was told that when a husband dies, and if the woman, the wife, dies along with him, immolating herself in the fire, then she will reach heaven, otherwise, she will go to hell. The notion of God was used to make the women to obey this rule. Remember, these are all the gods in the human mind. The god structure that I've been talking about, like Maheshwara, Adishiva, and Adishakti, and the eternal unknown, they just let everything to be on the top of the foundation that I've been talking about. That so-called quote-unquote God allows everything created by the gods in the human form. The God in human forms in various bodies. It never says that this is good or that is bad. That unknown quote unquote God never judges. It allows everything. That is exactly the nature of this golden light. It just shines, gives extreme joy to everything immersed in itself, irrespective of what kind of things the individuals do. But the gods in the human mind can be manipulated, to impose certain social structure on individuals just out of selfishness for various selfish reasons. One such thing is what I talked about, that is, women have to jump into the fire as soon as the husband dies. Some of you may say, no, it is not because of the fear of God or the notion that ladies will go to heaven if they kill themselves by jumping into the fire. It's for some other reason, for practical reasons. Whatever be the reason, it is wrong to force an individual, that to a woman without much power, to die jumping into the fire. The husband might have died for natural reasons or because of some other things like fighting and so on and so on. But imagine the condition of the woman, the suffering that the woman would have gone through if she was forced to kill herself by jumping into the fire. It's enormous suffering. Of course, that doesn't exist now. That brings us to the point, what will bring the change? What will bring the change is the human suffering. Whenever there is a human suffering in a social setup structure, there is something wrong in that social structure. It has to go away. The other thing that I learned through a movie, I was also not there at that time. I was just, might have been just a 2 year old boy. This was a movie about Mahatma Gandhi. I saw in that movie that when a husband dies in those days, about maybe about 60, 70 years back, women have to shave their heads, should not decorate themselves, they have to wear white saris, they are not to be seen in social activities. They were segregated into a separate place outside the villages and towns. They'll have to live the life of chanting mantras or doing whatever activities they need to do. Basically, they are not allowed to be in the society and be happy. They were forced to be in a segregated place. What is more interesting is there was a child marriage system at that time. Women were married at the age of 5, 4, 6, like that. Obviously, the husband will die before the children, married, married so-called wives, even become of age. Imagine the mind of the woman segregated, the mind of the child rather, segregated, wearing a white sari, white clothes, chanting mantras inside that segregated house, coming to know about her body, about the joy of being a human being, a full woman, caught in the segregated place just because there was some social setup. Could be in the name of God, I was not sure. There would have been tremendous suffering. That suffering led to the demise of that system, social structure. Now, let's talk about some such things still existing in the family setup, even now. If a husband dies, the women should not get married again. Even if this husband's death happened just a few days after the marriage, it's very difficult for a woman to get married again. It's because this notion of virginity, the so called virginity, this has been talked about, this notion of virginity has been talked about, praised about in the name of God as something precious that the woman has. There is no such thing for a man, but women, they have this virginity. In fact, as soon as a woman has a sexual relation, even in the family setup with the husband, she becomes an used object. That is why, or rather, she loses the virginity. It's okay to be virginless and a non-virgin in the family setup. It's okay to be used in an object that gets used up again and again by the husband for the pressure of the husband within the family setup. But once the husband dies, she cannot be remarried because society thinks she is a used object. This will have to change. There is nothing like a used object. Women are not used objects. What happens when a woman takes part in a sexual activity in the family setup is some changes to her body. The changes need not be carried to the mental level, mind level, feelings level, but they are carried to the mental and feelings level by the social setup, social structure, often preordained or ordained by the so-called gods, human created gods, which exist only in the human mind. Suppose there is no children in a family setup, the woman is unable to bear a child for various conditions. Could be because of their husband's inability to impregnate his wife. Even then, women women are called infertile. There is a slang, there is a very derogatory word in Tamil for that. I don't know the equivalent of that in English. Very demolishing, very harmful to the psyche of the woman to hear that word. They are not allowed to take part in ceremonies like marriage and other auspicious events in human life. They are segregated again. Even a woman having lost the husband not allowed to take part in auspicious event even today. What is more interesting, the most interesting, most hurting thing in this family setup is what happens to a woman after rape. Many of the women in Indian setup, they go and kill themselves because they have been forced to think by the social structure, the whole social setup, that if a man violates a woman, then a woman has lost something very, very precious, which she should never lose. And so there's a lot of shame created by the society on that woman's psyche, and hence the woman dies, kills herself. Imagine the kind of suffering that a woman would have gone through at the time of rape. And then, on top of it, she has to go through the process of killing herself. Imagine that mind, that individual dying for something that of her own, not of her own making. Compare this with the two individuals that I've been talking about at the basic structure of this whole humanity. The two individuals who are immersed in the golden light. How joyful they were. Compare that with the suffering because of the various social setup created by the human beings. There will be a time when women who are raped will not die, will stand straight and spit on the social structure which created such men. There will be men who will be ready to marry that raped woman in the future. They will realize that it is not the fault of the woman, it is the fault of the social structure which imposed such a suffering on the woman. So, folks, it's getting time now. There are many such things I need to talk about on the various social structure sitting on this permanent God created divine lights and the seven chakras. Probably I'll continue this in the next video. For example, the social setup called country. I'll talk about that. There's a lot of ignorance in that, a lot of suffering in that. So, to summarize, there is this permanent structure of the human society, the permanent foundation on top of which all the social structures have been created. The real quote unquote God allows everything to be without any judgment on top of this foundation. At the foundation level, human beings are designed to be extremely joyful. All the social setup on top of this basic joyful foundation. Whenever there is suffering in that, there will be a change. What is a good change is something which reduces suffering of humanity, human beings, independent of whether that person is a woman or a man, etc., etc. That's what I try to communicate to you in this video. I'll talk to you soon on another video, other things. Talk to you soon, folks.